to clone my project from GitLab. And that's so that you can see any code that I write just for demonstration purposes, you'll be able to at least get and see. So when you're opening up PyCharm, either your project should be here. If you've closed it, then you'll get this window. If you're still open, you'll have this window. Either way, you can you want to get from VCS if you're on this. So you click Get from VCS, and you'll want the repository URL. If not that, if your project is open, you can do it by saying Git clone, and that brings up the same window. So where do you get this URL? Well, you go to GitLab, and if I have added you, which I should have if you have already created your project and added me to it, go to my MV3302 class code P, and just as with yours here in the code button, you open that up, copy the clone with HTTPS there, go back to PyCharm, and then paste it in here. On a Mac, it's a Command V. On Windows, it would be Control V. And then you select clone. Now, you want to clone it into a new window because you'll probably want to keep your project open. And so put it in it. If it asks about trusting it, then trust it. And you can put it wherever you might want. Okay, so now that you've cloned my project, now go back to yours. Okay, in this case, it would be kind of here. But what I'm going to do, just to kind of illustrate what this is, I'm going to put some code in here just to kind of get you started with that first arrival process thing. And the first thing you want to make sure that we have our the right Python interpreter. So if we go to PyCharm settings, then there'll be one for the project. And so the Python interpreter, in this case, it has found mine. If it can't find yours, you can try to open it up. It may find it there. And if it doesn't find there, you can do add interpreter and navigate to wherever the Python that you installed despy on. As you can see, it has been installed in this one, so I'm good. But just to make sure that everything is copacetic, I'll create the Python file, and I'm suggesting MV3302 classes as the file. Do we want to add it to Git? Yes, we want to add it to Git. And as you can see, it's kind of green, which means it's been added but not committed. And then just as a check, let's check our imports. From SimKit, we want SimKit base, import sim entity base, and then define our class arrival process sim entity base. And then yeah, if we've gotten this far, then you're basically good. Now there are things about the constructor that need to be taken care of. So I'll kind of just walk you through that a little bit. The constructor, for whatever reason, for reasons known only to the Python developers, is called init. And then what we want to do is we want to call sim entity bases init with self. Yeah, it's important to have the self in there. If you don't have the self in there, then it's not going to happen. So so that's basically what that's about. And then the other is the argument to the constructor is enter-arrival time generator, or actually you can call it whatever you want, but that's what I like to use the same name as the instance variable. So that's an argument, but the instance variable is enter-arrival time generator. And I think enter-arrival time is all one word. Okay, so that's that's that, and we can actually just sort of confirm it at this point that everything is kind of working right. So I'm going to create the run package. And the part of the reason for this, again, we want to add that, is to separate our component classes from our sort of main classes. So we want another Python file, and I'm going to call it run arrival process. And yes, we want to add it. And then from MV3302, my classes, we want to import our arrival process. And actually, in order to do this, we also need the rand thing. So might as well do that. Simkit rand import random variate. So here now, and you can call this whatever you want. In fact, I mean, if you don't want to do a lot of typing, you just call it RV. But random variates, we get them in a particular way. We give it the name, and then the parameter associated with that. In this case, would be mean. Would be 3.2 is the parameter. There's a handout in the handouts section of Sakai that has a list of all of the random variables that are in DeskPy together with what their parameters are. Okay, so all we're doing is we just want to make sure that everything has gotten through. And now subclasses of random variate base have a method called describe. It turns out that the default, just kind of printing them doesn't really work very well. So when we run that, note that this is what we're looking for. So we have arrival process. Typically its ID will be 1. Persist, that's actually just don't worry about that for now. But here's our parameter. Our parameter is exponential 3.2. So that means that we if it doesn't look like this, then then there's no point in continuing. So before fixing that. Okay, so what could go wrong? Probably at this point, the biggest thing to go wrong is you're pointing to a Python interpreter that does not have DeskPy installed, or maybe there's been a fat finger somewhere. Okay, so in any event, now here's the other thing is that we want to commit this. So let's say I'm kind of finished with what I want to do. So I want to do git commit. That's the first thing there. And you always have to put a little comment in. Okay. You don't want, this is not documenting commenting. This is commenting about what was this bit of coding about. So what did you do in as few as possible. Okay, and then it says IGF project settings can't be added to GitLab. So let's add those. I don't know what his problem is. Okay, okay. So so we hit commit, and it let's see. I think for some reason it didn't like these. So let's commit those as well. Okay, so we need to actually kind of do that, and we see that there are no changes. And okay, so there's now having committed that only commits locally. So this is just on my computer. In fact, we can do as many commits as we want. In fact, I just did actually 2, even though they use the same comment. But after Now, after sort of a session where there might be many commits, what you want to do is you want to push your code. So GitLab push, or git push, sorry. Okay, and here we're having this. Here's all the various files and things, and here are the two commits. Okay, so and so here I'll push this second one, and when I hit push, it pushed two commits to origin main. And in fact, now here, how can I find out about that? Well, if I go back to my project, okay, there's what I wrote. And of course, you need to comment it, but I will leave that up to you.